I'm Brian. I've been coming to FirstSF for almost exactly 3 years now, actually. I started coming in March of 2021 in the middle of the pandemic. And since then, I've started serving in the youth program at FirstSF as like one of the leaders for the middle school and high school boys. It's been pretty fun. It just keeps me young, I guess. Or I relive the angsty high school and middle school days when I interact with the students. And it's been fun also, and actually pretty rewarding watching them grow in their faith and have a bunch of interesting good questions, lots of productive discussion, and seeing them slowly but surely grow in their walks with God has been incredibly rewarding. I've really enjoyed the sermon series in Matthew so far. I really like how it's been kind of timed so that the events of, I think, Easter Sunday in the text also coincide with just the calendar, the church calendar, so that we're kind of, as Lent kind of progresses, we're making our way to Easter Sunday. I know there's a lot of things, just thinking about recent sermons, that have stuck out. I think last Sunday's message about kind of repentance and grief, a godly grief that produces repentance versus a worldly grief that leads to death. I was thinking about that a lot this week, and whether, or in terms of how I approach repentance to sin, how I deal with kind of these things. I think, it's oftentimes when I guess approaching sin or areas where I need to, or areas of sanctification, it's often tempting to get into a mindset of this kind of unproductive grief, where you're kind of wallowing in kind of self-pity a lot. But the kind of grief that leads to repentance, and actually trusting in the core message of the gospel, that it's kind of all been accomplished through Christ's work. I think that was a really good reminder last Sunday. All the stuff on the end times, I think just being reminded that God is sovereign over history, and that even though we might not really understand some of the things that will happen, and there's substantial uncertainty around the end times, but still being reminded that God does win in the end, and that He is sovereign over the events that will take place. I think that's a good reminder. And again, bringing it back to the first part of the first thing I said, where how it's kind of timed to the narrative of Matthew is kind of aligned with the church calendar. So this whole period from Christmas all the way up to Easter. I think that's been making the way through the narrative, and actually knowing that it would be timed with Easter kind of made this season, this anticipation for the resurrection that much more impactful. Working through the narrative with as the kind of winter ends and spring begins. This week I have been thinking about the contrast between Peter's example and Judas's example, and even our tendency to have that kind of Judas-like response to sin, and how that's, even though we would be guilty and sorrowful, it's not a productive response. I think that was a really good reminder.